Hi.
I am sitting here with the one and only Jackie Chan, global superstar, and he is signing all of these books. Are your hands tired?
No, tired, but I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm
really,
so
really
happy to hear that.
How do you feel?
Good. I'm excited. This is the first time I've done something like this before, a live signing.
Where do I want to go that I've never been? Oh, we're thinking about, not thinking, we're putting it in motion. I'm going to go to Indonesia on my Irresponsible tour this year. I'm excited about that. I've never been. And there's been a heavy demand for me there. So we're going to go. We're going to go to Indonesia and I'm going to make people laugh in Indonesia. That's how I roll. How do you roll? I can't make this up. Wayne, you got your Indonesia pants? I decided it about a good 3 weeks ago. You'll see it on the schedule soon, so I suggest you go get your pants for Indonesia. Because you're not going to wear them stupid pants. Where do you think Indonesia is? India. Yes, we out.
You can see that I'm signing it. This is not some machine scribbling my name. This is my actual human body scribbling my name. So, all right, there we go. First book, signed.
We have fans from all over who have written questions that they want to ask you.
Oh dear.
And they're also going to get signed copies of the book. We're so excited.
Yeah.
So you ready to jump into
Yes,
some questions?
yes.
Hey, we're live at the live signing.
To my mind, the successful feeling at the end of a book is not that you have done everything you could with the book, but that you've scratched the surface.
So it was a wonderful, it was a wonderful experience and a wonderful discipline in storytelling.
I'm going to start signing right now. I guess I'll sign in red. You know, red. I'm a Delta. Red.
Can you guys see that? See, he's a little smudge right there. So if you see a little smudge, that means Charles jumped on the book as I was signing it.
I don't mind doing signings because people really love a signed copy of a book. I know I do. I will sometimes sign a book to myself.
You were only 7 weeks old and ABC really wanted to get the new host in that seat and get things going. And I said, but I'm breastfeeding. And by the way, that was at a point like in 1979, coming up on 1980, you really weren't even allowed to say breastfeeding on the air.
I feel like this is something we kind of all need right now.
My life changed after my leg was broken in 1985. My world changed. I had the world by the tail. I had every material thing you could possibly hope for going for you in your life. And then all of a sudden, bang, in one instance, it was gone.
The only thing that matters is the love you give and the love you allow yourself to receive.
I'm healthier than I've ever been, only because I got healthy when I was like 40. Thank you so much.
Got it. Hi there. You probably recognize this guy. I'm Ned Rust. I'm his publisher, the James Patterson here, the #1 best-selling author in the world. And
Did you just make that up?
I did some research before I got here today.
We are doing my virtual live book signing.
Live book signing.
This is crazy.
More and more authors are doing this. I think it's so cool.
Signing some of the signed copies that you guys can get at premiercollectibles.com.
You're going to be signing these books live over the next 45 minutes.
Hey, what up, this your boy? I'm watching myself. Look at that. I need to stop.
If you're OCD, how is this panic-inducing to
They're
you?
not
Like
watching
all
anymore.
these.
They've got a bag.
Yeah.
They've got a bag.
I'm inspired by your success. What advice do you give someone who's never found his passion?
Hi, I'm Judge Janine Pirro. You probably heard of my book, Liars, Liberals, and Leakers. I may look like Greg Gutfeld, but I'm not actually. This is so exciting. My 8th book, The Gutfeld Monologues, is out. This is fantastic. If you haven't purchased it yet, you're dead to me. But you still have time to reanimate and become my best friend.
Biggest pet peeve?
Yeah.
Men that talk to me with spinach in their teeth.
What can I do while at work to help lower my stress and improve my health?
One musician do you most admire?
I love you all, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Much love. See you.
See you soon.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you around the world. Woo!
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone here.
Bye, guys.
Say goodbye, Mary.
See you in the morning.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Hey guys, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sammy. I am the fiance to the 5-time fittest man on earth, Matthew Fraser. We are here talking about your book tonight. Super excited for you guys that are joining us. Thank you so much. And I'll hand it over to Matt.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I'm really excited for everyone to get their copy. You know, it's been a project in the works for quite some time now. So, you know, it's pretty crazy to see it all, you know, in print, in hand, done. Super excited for people to read through it. You know, there's going to be so many different topics that are covered. We try to just cover all the bases, everything from recovery, training, food, mental state, and then, you know, there's some specific stuff of workouts I've done in competition or workouts I've done in training. So if you feel the urge, you can hit them yourselves, you can replicate them, and, you know, just have some fun with it. But at very least, I hope people are able to walk through this book, you know, and kind of take some mental tricks that I have, or, you know, how I approach certain workouts, and maybe you can apply that to your own, and just get after it in the gym.
I know. I remember when I sat with you guys while you talked through the different stories, and I was kind of witness to some of the process. And then when I read, I think it was one of your, you know, initial manuscripts or something, I was like, Matt, do you know how much is in this book? You know, I remember just being so impressed with, wow, you guys fit so much in between, you know, the two covers. And so I'm biased, obviously, but also just as, you know, somebody reading this, I just was so impressed with how much, you know, it wasn't just a story of your life or just a story of your competition. There was so much in there. So I agree. I'm very excited for these people to get it.
Yeah, you know, it was one of those things that, you know, when I was competing, I never wanted to do something like this because, you know, there was a lot of things. I played my cards very close to my chest in my whole competition career. You know, I rarely trained with any of my competitors, and I rarely was vocal about what was going through my head or how I was approaching different things, because I didn't want to give I didn't want to give my competitors any tips or, you know, any ammunition that I found was a benefit to myself. But as soon as I was done competing, it was like, oh, okay, now I want to share this. I want to help other people on their fitness journey. So here it is.
I mean, even social media, right? Like we would talk about this all the time when you were competing. It would, oh, we've got this really cool video clip. And even that, it was like, no, I don't want to post a video. I don't want people to see that I'm lifting this kind of weight or that I'm doing these types of metcons or whatever.
I mean, even something simple like a picture of me doing rope climbs or legless rope climbs, I never even wanted that posted because I didn't, if my technique was a little bit different than one of my competitors, I didn't want them getting tipped off to it and trying something new that might benefit them. You know, I played everything so close to my chest, like everything was almost like secretive because, you know, I worked so hard on certain things and I didn't want to give it away to help anyone that was trying to beat me.
Yeah, truly the competitive edge. Oh, so cool. I mean, what's something that you think, what's something that you're most excited about for people to take away from the book?
You know, it covers so many bases. I'm hoping people see something as simple as my mentality when I was doing a running workout in competition. You know, like,
what was that mentality?
So,
I mean, I know we talk about it in the book, but we can give a little.
But I think if you read this and then know where to look for it, you know, I think it was the 2019 games when the first time that we ever had eliminations or cuts in the competition. And I talk about it in the book of, you know, breaking the rubber band, where if you're in the lead and there's someone right behind you, they're thinking, all right, just stay right behind him. But then after a certain distance, it almost breaks this mental rubber band that's holding them close to you. And instead of thinking, all right, stay right behind him, they now think, all right, stay in front of the rest of the crowd. And so I talk about that and these little tricks that maybe 99% of the time they do nothing, but then there's that one rare time where it comes up in competition and it's applicable. And there's been a couple times where it happened. One was in 2019 when the first workout of the games, and going into round 3, Pat Vellner and I were head to head the whole time. And so as soon as I turned the corner and I knew I was in the lead, as soon as I knew he couldn't see me, I sprinted. And then as soon as he came back into sight, I throttled way back. So he's no longer thinking, all right, catch up to him, catch up to him. He's thinking, all right, stay in front of the next guy.
I bet that totally dictates his pace. You know,
100%, yeah, because it's so much easier when you're pacing off somebody else. You just stare at the heels, lock in, and whatever pace they go, you go. Same thing, 2016 trail run, and Josh Bridges actually talked about it in the movie, where, you know, we turned a corner, and as soon as I was out of his sight, he and I were just by ourselves. As soon as I was out of his sight, it was a steep incline, I sprinted as hard as I could, even though I knew it would negatively affect my overall time. But if it broke that mental rubber band for him, he would throttle back and just stay ahead of the third place guy instead of staying on the heels of the first place guy. You know, and I've done it in training when I'm training with other individual male athletes, and they've talked about it too, of like, oh, I came out and I turned the corner and I'm usually 10 feet behind you, but then I saw I was 100 feet behind you. And then they're like, I don't know where that gap came from, but you know, I thought, oh, okay, he's on his own, I'll throttle back. And so the little things like that, that unless you're aware of it and looking for it, you won't see it in competition. It looks like I just sprinted for no reason when I was already by myself. But once you know that process, maybe you could apply it to your next local competition, your next CrossFit Games, or just training with a buddy, you know?
That's super cool. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, there's tons of little stories and anecdotes and stuff like that in here. And do you see this as something that like people are gonna read and put back on the shelf, or, you know, bring to the gym with them? Like what's the intention of this book?
I hope that's not the case. I hope somebody reads it, you know, goes back to their regular training, and they might have a couple little tidbits here and there that they go, oh, I remember Matt talked about this in his book, and they apply it. And then, you know, maybe a couple months later, a year later, read through it again. And now that you have a little bit more experience, whether it's with recovery in your home life or in training, or it's in competing, and you can read it again. And now that you've had some new experiences, you catch something new in the book. So I hope people read it a couple times, whether it's you're flipping through it again for new recipes, flipping through it again for workouts that I talk about in here. And, you know, maybe you hit the workout once, and then a year later, after, you know, 12 hard months of training, you go, oh, let's retest some of those workouts that I had in the book. And, you know, so I think there's a lot of value going back and rereading it. You know, your perspective on it might change as you have some new life experiences.
I think there's, if I'm remembering correctly too, there's like some journal entry. Yeah, so like there's spots within the book where you can journal as well. There aren't like actual lines, and there's not like a notebook, but they ask some questions and some prompts, and that's super cool too, how you've got that of like, you know, just kind of posing some questions before you get into a specific section, to give people like some thought starters and kind of direct where that section of the book is going. Yeah, super cool. Great. Some questions from some of the people that signed up for this, so we have some of those, and it'd be great to go through them. And so that way, while Matt's signing some of these books, some of your questions can be answered. So while Matt does that, I'll ask him some questions, and we'll get going. How did you / do you stay motivated when you were in school and then in CrossFit and now? So kind of a 3-part, you know.
So like basically like staying motivated through the different stages of what I had going on.
Yeah.
So early on when I was in school, I'm glad I went through that stage. I'm glad I went through the stage of 90 minutes to an hour of training, because training was not my number one priority. I never thought CrossFit would be a full-time thing. I thought, you know, I kept school a priority intentionally, because if I half thought, oh, you know, maybe I can make a whack of this, I knew school would get put on the back burner. And then once you leave, it's so much harder to come back. So I'm really glad I had that stage, because it taught me how to be so efficient in the gym. And I think at that stage, I was a broke college student, living at home, driving a crappy car. And I was signing up for local competitions, just trying to make some pocket money. And so I looked at it kind of like a weekend side hustle where, if I had to put gas in my car, I wanted to go out to dinner, go out to the movies, whatever it was. I just had some pocket change. And so, I looked at that of like, all right, if I want to have fun on the weekends, I need to get better at these weaknesses. So I perform better at my weekend job. And then that turned into, being on the big stage and kind of having some embarrassing moments where, I get second place and just knowing like, oh, okay, that was a terrible feeling. I want to make sure that never happens again. And then the last stage of it was figuring out what story do I want to tell? What do I want to tell my kids, my grandkids? I would do these long road trips with my dad, and he just had endless stories of when he was a professional figure skater. He and my mom, anyone doesn't know, he and my mom were professional figure skaters. They're both Olympians in freestyle figure skating. They were a pair. And the stories, like we wouldn't have the radio on, we didn't have a TV in the car, anything like that. So as soon as we would get on the highway, I'd say, Dad, tell me a story. And he would tell me stories, one after the other, of when they were pro, when they went on tour, all these things. And I always thought, like, how do I create those stories for myself? I was lucky enough to find Sammy early on. So it's like, we got to have those stories together. We got to go on these adventures together. And it was all linking back to what do I want to be remembered as? What stories do I want to tell my kids? What do I want my legacy to be when I leave the competition floor? And knowing that, like, okay, all these stories are going to come from such a small window in time of my life. Grand scheme at the games, I went 7 times. It spanned 7 years. And in the grand scheme of life, it was such a short window of time. So the Muhammad Ali quote of like, suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. And that was just on repeat constantly.
Mm-hmm. What a great, and so how does that apply to now? So that was while you were in school and while you were in CrossFit. And then, now I feel like that's something that's just so ingrained in everything that we do, of just like, there's we've had years of experience to kind of lay the foundation of this is how we live our lives.
Yeah. How you do anything is how you do everything. And so now whenever I take on a project or take on a task, I have the nice combination of knowing that, all right, if you put down your phone, you don't have any distractions, you can get a lot of work done in an hour, 2 hours. No distractions, no multitasking, focus on the task. You can get everything done. And then having the memory of like, yes, you could cut a corner and get this job done a little bit faster, a little bit easier, but is it the right way? And knowing that once I do this process 100 times over, yeah, if I'm cutting corners one day, it may not make a difference, but if you cut corners 100 days in a row, it's going to accumulate. And are you going to be proud of the end result? And then on top of it, thinking long-term, big picture of, all right, once I do this year after year after year, what's the end result? What do I want the end result be? What little step can I take today that's going to put me to where I want to be in 5 years? And so just a combination of all those things, it's how I do anything now. It's, I'm not focused on training to be the fittest man in the world anymore, but when it comes to my business ventures or, working on projects around the house, something as simple that the end result nobody else will see other than me, I apply all those same things that I've accumulated over the years of training to compete into these new ventures.
Mm-hmm. Great question. Okay, do you miss anything about training for or competing at the CrossFit Games?
I don't think I really miss any of it. Because when I was done, when I decide on something, it's the decision's done. My whole last season, actually, at the
last 2 seasons.
yeah, so I actually tried to retire in 2019, and then I got talked out of it. So the whole 2020 season, I knew, like, without a doubt, this is my last year. I mean, I don't know if I miss it, like the memories I'm fond of are hitting the finish line first, or even just having finishing an event that you're proud of. I've had some of my most proud moments were second place finishes. It didn't have to be an event win for me to be proud of it.
Well, think about like your swim events that one year when we bumped into Tia's dad and you were like, oh, I got 5th place. And he was like, buddy, we got to work on your swim. And you were like, 5th place for me in a swim. This is great news.
Well, I mean,
I'm
I think
pumped for that.
I think the better example is the sprint event in 2016.
Yep.
It was very, very humbling training for that. And I won my heat, but I got 2nd overall. That did not take away from my enthusiasm at all, because it was a huge victory for me personally.
That, and it was a 50-point event.
Exactly.
It was a split. I remember you coming off the floor and you were like, that event in the grand scheme of the weekend doesn't mean anything, but it's my favorite event of the whole weekend.
I think I may have had the competition fairly well wrapped up at that point as
Yeah.
well. Like, it didn't even matter, but it was my proudest moment as a competitor, because I worked so hard on it, and I saw my hard work reflected in my results. So there's those training while I had a competition in the sites made training a lot, I don't want to say easier, but it just gave it a purpose. So, even if you don't have a fitness goal, it's like, sign up for a local 5K. There's no and on the page of the newspaper, but like just having something to train for, so that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Otherwise, you're just going into the gym day after day, and for me, that was a big adjustment of when I first started working out again, not having a reason to train, and there's not like a measurable goal. Like, it's so easy to say like, oh, I want to lose a bit of weight. Well, set that number, set that goal, so that when you accomplish it, there's a stamp of, all right, I did it. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, let's see. These are some really great questions. Oh, any tattoo plans in the near future?
So many.
This is a fun one.
It's just going to be a matter of linking up with my tattoo artist, because he is in Italy. So yes, I have many, many tattoo plans. I want to expand my chest tattoo. Playing with the idea of some leg tattoos. Like, I want to get a tattoo of Patrick Swayze. That's been on the list for a long time.
But tell them which one. Like what Patrick Swayze?
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. Very important distinction.
Yeah. Roadhouse is, when I was younger, it was my hands down favorite movie. Like, I never knew the name of it when I was younger. It was like when I was flipping through channels and like TNT would have it on channel 24. I would always watch it. I wanted to just be a badass that lived above a barn. And so there's that. I want to get another tattoo. I haven't decided completely on it, but like kind of like all like the 90s gangster movies, like Casino, Goodfellas, Bronx Tale, all that. I want to get a collage of all those characters. At some point I want knuckle tattoos, but I'm not
just around.
I'm not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet. Okay, let's see. We've got, what season of the
conclusion that all the competitions that seemed the physically hardest, took the longest to recover from, were the ones that I was least prepared for. After 2015, I would be fully physically recovered after the games within 2 days. Like, felt perfectly fine.
Oh, you're saying normally,
Mhm.
because you just said after 2015.
Yes,
But-
after 2015, it took me months
Mhm.
to recover. I remember thinking that there was something wrong with me, and then I remember talking to, I think it was Con Porter at the ECC
Which would have been in January.
in January.
Of the following, so
And
6 months later. Right?
yeah, and I remember telling him like, man, it took me months to recover. And Con mentioned, he was like, I'm just starting to feel normal again. And I think that was like, I think the heat stroke that everyone got was a big contributing factor. But for me, it was also, I was unprepared for that game. You know, I didn't come in good shape. I didn't train properly. So the tests were really, really tough. Every year after that, you know, my training was just crazy. The games, in terms of volume, was like a deload week. It was a very easy volume week. It's just the intensity got way ramped up. I think it may have been 2017.
The marathon row.
Yeah, like my quads were shot.
Mhm.
Like we just had so much stuff below parallel. But you know, once again, like 2 days later, I'm like, if I had to train right now, I could. If I had to, like, if Monday they threw in another day of competition, I could have done it just fine. You know, like
So you think like your preparedness for
Yeah,
the games, and then just like your
yeah, you know, like
training?
I had enough seasons under my belt to know what to expect games. And so it was basically every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, our volume was more than what we see at the games. So I was just better prepared for it. I knew what to expect. I knew how to recover in between events. I knew how to eat during the competition. It may sound silly, I was better at falling asleep, you know, knowing what event I had to do the next day, even if I was super scared about it, super excited about it. I was able to just put those emotions to the side and be like, all right, my thought process on it right now makes no effect on tomorrow. So like, just shut it off.
Yeah.
Don't think about it.
Whereas your sleep has a direct correlation to how you are prepared for that
Exactly.
day of training or that day of competition.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would use the open as a training tool of sometimes I would watch the open announcement and go to bed knowing what the workout was. And then other times I would practice, I would go into the gym Friday morning and put myself on a 1 hour time clock of seeing the workout and then executing it. So I could practice finding out a workout, being nervous about it and getting a good night's sleep. And then other times being able to execute on this workout with very, very little warning. So I could adapt on the fly.
What an interesting, I didn't know you did that.
Oh yeah. It was.
Wow, guys, we learned something new. That's cool. And what a great, like, I mean, what another just little training thing.
Yeah,
It's
'cause, I
like
mean-
it has nothing to do with like your you know, an actual movement or a workout or a time domain or whatever, but you're practicing
Yeah, because
assimilating competition.
yeah, early on in my career, I felt that like at the games, finding out a workout
Mhm.
and then it ruining my night of sleep.
Yeah.
Because I knew what I had to do the next day, and I knew the pain I was going to have to put myself through to accomplish it.
Mhm.
And then there was other times where we would find out the workout as we're walking out on the competition floor. So I wanted to be more proficient at both extremes.
Yeah. I remember one of the years, maybe it was 2019, right? They like didn't tell you guys. It was like every night you'd go to bed and I would, you know, I remember chatting with you one of the nights and you had said something like, getting some really good sleep here because we just don't know the workout. So there's nothing for me to stress about. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing to think about because I don't know what's coming tomorrow. I can only do what I can do tomorrow. So it's just easy for me to just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Fun little tips here. Okay. How did you recover from your broken back and keep your positive mindset during this time?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I had a terrible mindset during it, but it reflected it. I found the benefit in it years later. So when I was going through my whole back, so anyone that doesn't know, I broke my L5 in 2 spots.
What year?
This would be 2008 or 2009. So I was 18 or 19 years old. I was competing in weightlifting at the time, and I was training for the Junior World Championships in Romania. And, 2 weeks before leaving for the World Championships, I was doing a clean pull, big loud pop in my back, couldn't walk for 3 days. I knew something was hurt. And then a week later, it was too late to call an alternate. So kept training. I was doing a heavy back squat and hit the bottom of the hole, popped the other side. Competed, got back, got x-rays. They showed breaks. And so they put me in a full torso brace, and it went from hips to nipple, like plastic corset type brace, miserable. And so I'm laid up, can't compete, can't train, nothing. And I'm watching my friends make the Pan Am team, make the junior Pan Am, like all these different things. They're getting PRs, they're getting all this notoriety. And I just had to sit there in a torso brace. And I was living in Colorado, didn't have any family around, didn't have any friends really. And like, it was a very depressing time for me. Go in, get x-rays done after 4 months, and they show nothing had healed. So now I need surgery. Went out, got surgery, moved up to Northern Michigan, Marquette, Michigan, and couldn't train, couldn't do anything, had to watch all my friends keep progressing, getting better. And it was a terrible, terrible time in my life. It was really, really dark. I did not handle it well. And, I'm a very introverted person, so I never shared my emotions. I never talked to anyone, just kept it bottled up, and was not a happy person. Finished off my weightlifting career. I came back from that injury, hit PRs, hit a 300 kilo total. But during all that training, after coming back, I trained off resentment. And resentment is a great motivator, but it's a hot burning fuel. And if you use it too long, you'll burn out. Mm-hmm. And I heard it from so many people of, he can't recover from this injury. He can't come back. He's written off his damaged goods. And so I just trained with a mentality of like, I'll show you. And it worked, but then I lost my love for the sport. And so I walked away, focused on school, and then came into CrossFit. And it wasn't until probably 3 years later that I found the benefit from that life experience. And anytime I had doubt of, can I come back, if I got a little injury, or if I went through, just a hard life experience, I would always think back, like, I got over that thing a couple of years ago. Like, I broke my back in 2 spots. I was told you will never exercise again. You'll never weightlift again. The most aggressive exercise you'll ever be able to do is a light jog. And then, I came back from that injury, hit PRs in weightlifting, started competing in CrossFit, had a lot of success at the kind of local level. And I went, dude, I came back from a broken back. Like, and I remember how much of a dark place I was in during that, and then looked at where my life was 2 years later. And it was just like, oh, all right, there's nothing that can derail me. There's nothing anyone can, like, I broke my back. You think some mean thing someone said to me is going to affect me? It was just like, all right, this too will pass. Give it enough time and like work on it. So, that was the silver lining from that situation. I didn't realize until years later, but then that triggered the mentality of finding the silver lining in every situation, even when it seemed hopeless. And, I would make up the silver lining. Something as simple as, I remember falling off the cargo net at the games, and a terrible moment, but I was so ingrained with finding the silver lining in these situations that as I'm free falling 25 or 30 feet, the first thing that went through my head was, good, I'm going to get to the ground so much faster than Pat. And then like last minute, like realized like, oh no, this is bad. I need to like protect myself.
Brace up.
Yeah. Brace up. And then boom, big hit. But then it's just like pop up, keep running. But from that broken back, it was like eyes wide open on, there is a silver lining in every bad situation. So it was just like keeping your eyes open for it, knowing, and it kind of gave me a sense of hope when I was in these hopeless situations of something good will come from this as long as I give it enough time and I stay open to looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did that answer the question? I
That's
forget
it.
what the original question
Yeah, no,
was.
that was great. That was great. What was one of the most surprising things you learned about yourself while writing this book? Or was there something you learned about? I just learned something about you, so that was cool for me.
That's a good one. I think probably realizing how many little things that I did that I just assumed my thought process was so similar to other people. But once I started kind of explaining a lot of the stuff that I did.
Like something as simple as the open. Like,
So something as simple as the open.
I don't know many people that have that
Well,
thought process.
So something else, like, I remember saying at one time of like, I don't use a knife for like the month before the games. And I kind of figured that everyone did that. I stopped using, like, riding my motorcycle for a month or two before the games. I wouldn't get on a mountain bike or do any trail riding. My trail running gets cut way down. Or if it is happening, I'm on like very wide, stable trails. Because the risk wasn't worth the benefit. I had already gotten proficient at those things, but the risk of rolling an ankle or, so like my example with a knife, just opening boxes. Well, what happens if I cut my thumb? It's if I have a cut on my thumb going into the games, hook gripping is now running at 95% efficiency. But not only on top of that, does the hook grip hurt, but now I'm going to be bleeding on the bar, and that's going to cause the bar to get a little bit slippery. My grip isn't going to be as good. I'm going to have to stop and get for a chalk break more often than I would if I just had, healed hands. And, even how I load, like on a weight tree, when I'm loading plates back on, when I'm far out of competition, I just pinch the weight with one hand and I load it in. But as soon as I'm getting close to competition, I'm holding with two hands so that there's less of a risk of dropping a plate on my toe or straining something in my forearm. These little tiny things that, 999 times out of 1,000, they're not going to have an effect. But then there's that one rare time that it happens. And I remember I told that story about the knife, and I got a lot of comments of like, oh, you're overthinking this. And then I remember getting like three or four DMs of people doing like local competitions within a month after. And they're like, I sliced my hand open and my competition was miserable. Like, it affected my performance on multiple events. Like that time that you said you didn't use a knife or a box cutter, like, should have listened.
I scoffed at it originally, and now I know. I learned the hard way.
Yeah. So I guess like going through this book and kind of telling stories, and then people being like, wait, really? Like, that was your thought process in that situation? I was like, yeah, is that not your thought process? So
yeah, that is super interesting. Okay, I am 14 years old and I'm starting to do more CrossFit in my workouts. What are some good tips for me?
Technique. At 14 years old, you can do just about anything in a workout. And just because your body's growing, you will be getting stronger, you will be getting fitter, you will be hitting PRs left and right. The one thing that comes with you as you move through are the bad habits that you generate when you're young. That's where the muscle memory gets ingrained. I remember when I started weightlifting, I was 12 years old, and my coach, for a month, I lifted on a broom handle. It wasn't like Rogue didn't make cool PVC pipes back in 2002. So I was on a legit broomstick for a month. And then the month after that, my coach, congrats, your technique is good enough, we're going to move you up to the first bar. And it was a like 7-pound steel pipe, like from Lowe's or Home Depot. Like, it wasn't one of these cool training bars that they have now that you can load weight. And then bumping up after that, they didn't make big Olympic light plates yet. So my coach had a bunch of plywood plates that one of the parents made, and they're kind of circular. They're cut with a jigsaw, so they
Got
weren't
the job done.
He would have like 3/8 inch plywood and 1/2 inch plywood, 3/4 inch plywood, and that was the weight we used. I remember the first time I clean and jerked 40 kilos, and it was my coach went to the bathroom. One of the older kids that was supposed to be watching me was like, "Hey, throw on some weight," and it was just so much time spent with a light barbell. And I remember locking horns with my coach all the time of like, "How am I supposed to get better if you don't let me lift heavy weights? How am I supposed to get stronger?" And he said, like, "It's not going to pay off right now, but he's like, you watch in a couple years." Those kids lifting 100 kilos are going to be lifting 100 kilos in 2 years because they don't have the technique to build off of. They're going to get stronger, but it's not going to translate. It's like you keep building your engine bigger and bigger and bigger in your race car, but you never upgrade the tires. So all that power isn't able to get to the floor. And sure enough, it took years and years to realize the benefit of it. But like that technique, it's paying dividends to me today. When you watch a top level athlete, they're some of the best in the world at CrossFit, but as soon as they get fatigued, their snatch technique changes. That's because they don't have that muscle memory ingrained. They're having to actively think about a movement as they're doing it. And as soon as the effort becomes too hard and pulling too much of their focus, they're focusing on the effort. They're not focusing on the technique. Whereas for myself, it didn't matter how tired I was. Perfect example is the 2019 games, that first cut workout. I was dying. I was dizzy. I was wobbling. I was exhausted. I went out so hard in that workout just to prove a point. But my snatch technique was the exact same as when I started that workout, because it was so ingrained into me. And it translated over to everything. Once you learn how to Olympic lift properly, you're learning how to move a weight that's in your hands, but you're learning how to move it with your legs. So like the first time I jumped up to do a muscle up, it happened because I know how to generate force with my hips to carry through my upper body. It carried over to everything I did, because I had that good technique. I had that good fundamental, understanding of how I move. So if you're young and you're pursuing any sport, really, it doesn't have to be CrossFit, like the strength and conditioning side, you're going to be doing a lot of Olympic weightlifting. Do not sacrifice technique in trade for instant gratification. Stick with the fundamentals. You don't need to be doing complicated stuff. Clean and jerk, snatch, squats, deadlifts. Like you don't need to be doing these crazy snatch complexes. Work on the fundamentals.
Okay, an easy one or a quick one. Thrusters or burpees?
That's not an easy one. What's the context?
I don't know. There is no context.
It
just says thrusters or burpees.
What's the weight of the thruster? How many reps am I doing?
Okay,
who am I
I'll
going
give it to you.
against?
So like a 135 thruster in a couplet or burpees in an AMRAP.
I'm doing thrusters in a couplet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There we go.
There's
some sort of an answer.
I do like thrusters, because it just it was one of those things that the first time I did it, I was like, oh, this is easy. It was something that translated over so well from my past in Olympic weightlifting. And it was a combination of I was good at it and other people hated them. So I was able to, like, anytime I had a workout, throwing down with friends, it's rare that you don't like something that you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that was a big part of it, was I got that hit of instant gratification right away. So my association with thrusters was always good.
Okay. Like we got time for like one more, and then we've got some quick answer questions. So what was your favorite games workout? And is there one workout you wish you could redo?
So favorite games workout, man, there's a bunch of them. Yeah, there's a lot. I could probably go through every year and think of one or two.
What's like the first one that comes to mind?
So, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is the sprint in 2016,
Mhm.
because literally, like, the announcers were saying, like, oh, this is where Fraser finishes in the middle of the pack. He's not good at this. And it was the narrative that got put out very early from other CrossFitters of, oh, he was bad at this last year, so he's going to be bad at it again this year. And for me, it was frustrating, but then I found the silver lining of it of, let people think I'm bad at something, then they're not expecting me to come in better. But also it was like, no, like when I'm bad at something last year, other people are going to repeat their mistakes. I will not repeat my mistakes. So it was like, sure, I'm completely willing to be bad at something once. Like, why would I be good? I've never done it before, but if I'm bad at something a second time, that's on me. That's where I take the blame. So, there was like the sprint event. I think one of the coolest moments I've ever had, I just got goosebumps thinking about it, was the clean event in 2019. Because it was one of those other ones that, I came in with such low expectations. In training, I don't think I cleaned over 345 that whole season. And then, Scott Panchek, like, he's so strong, so good at the Olympic lifts, that coming in, I figured a lot more guys would be dropping off a lot sooner. And, I figured and then it was just such a beautiful opportunity. I was so far behind on points. There weren't many opportunities to get big chunks of points. And that season too, for some reason, this narrative got started that I didn't perform well under pressure. And their conclusion was because they'd never seen me under pressure. And for me, I was like, well, just because you've never seen me under pressure doesn't mean I'm not good at it. I've just never been tested on it. And so that situation, I remember as I'm walking up to the bar, literally, I may have said it out loud of like, they say you're not good under pressure. Cool. Let's show them, let's show them that I am good under pressure while they're sitting on the sidelines.
That must have been when you were lurking back and forth on the glass.
Yeah.
Like a tiger at the zoo.
Yeah.
Just pacing back and forth.
Just waiting for my opportunity. I remember telling Boz, like, once it was down to like just Scott and I, or there's maybe 3 of us left, they decided to start giving us a 2-minute break after each round. And I remember looking at Boz and I was like, let's go. I'm ready.
That's awesome. And is there any that you would redo?
Redo. I mean, there's a bunch from like my 2014 season. Like we had one, it was like the 21-15-9, and it was like bar muscle ups, chest to bar and pull ups. And then I think it was deadlifts, cleans, and snatches. And it was like 7-7-7 of each, and then 5-5-5, and then 3-3-3. But I remember going out, I remember that day of competition vividly, thinking in between workouts, like, man, I'm not hungry at all. This is fantastic. I don't have to waste time eating, anything like that. I remember by that event, it was under the lights. And I remember my motivation for that workout was, all right, as soon as you're done, you can curl up on the finish line and go to sleep. I was so tired. I had no energy. I hadn't eaten the whole day. And
let's just preface with, I wasn't around yet.
Yeah, 2014. This is pre-Sammy. And it was pre me having any knowledge of how to compete, how to recover in between workouts, anything like that. And like, I literally didn't eat, and I thought it was super convenient that I wasn't hungry. So there's that workout, the 333 from that year as well. I hadn't trained running at all. So I remember finishing or being on the 3 laps of the run and just being like, I have nothing. Like, the pace I'm going is my max effort. Even like the last 50 meters going to the finish line, I couldn't kick it into gear at all. So it was just a lack of experience of A, training running, B, training running with any other modalities in it, and then having different gears in the run.
Cool. Okay, let's get into, we've got 22 questions in 2 minutes. So these are like rapid fire.
Okay.
Should be easy. Okay, where were you born?
Kingston, Ontario, Canada.
Who would you want to play in a movie?
Who would I want to play me?
Who would you want to play in a movie? Like, I don't know. I look at that as who would you want to be in a movie?
I would want to be Forrest from Lawless.
Forrest Bondurant.
Forrest Bondurant. Who's he played by? What's his name?
Oh, Harding.
Yeah, Tom Harding.
Tom Harding.
Love Tom Harding.
Gotta love him. What was your first job?
First documented job where I actually had a pay stub. I was a pool boy.
Not just paid by your dad and in
Yeah,
Canadian.
yeah. First job where I logged hours and was getting paid. I was doing some like construction projects with my dad. First job where I actually had a pay stub. I was a pool boy at the local health and fitness club, later to become the health and fitness club that I swam in while I was competing at the games.
Full circle. What chore do you hate doing the most?
All of them.
Adulting.
What chore?
Mhm. Like
Folding laundry.
Mhm.
It's the worst. I just rather have all my clothes in a bucket, and it's like just have two buckets next to each other. When take them out, throw them in the other
I
bucket.
love that you call it a bucket. It's a hamper. Or
No,
a
I would
basket.
use a bucket.
A
I wouldn't waste money on a hamper.
Okay.
Then if I have a leak in the roof, I can just dump out my
Oh
laundry
my
and use it.
gosh, a bucket. Thank goodness we live together. What is your biggest fear?
Oh, so many things. Oh my God, I'm a ball of nerves.
Let's narrow it down to one.
I guess my biggest fear summed up is not tapping my full potential.
Who makes you laugh the most?
I mean, you or Tyler.
It's pretty even.
Yeah, I mean, there's no road trip too long if you have the right co-pilot. And I mean, Sam and I crush road trips.
Often. What is the one thing you need to have in your fridge at all times?
Seltzers, Athletic Brew, cottage cheese cups, salami.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just all the fixings for a sandwich. I could live off sandwiches 3 meals a day.
What is your favorite school subject?
Anything engineering based. Going through school is all the math. Like when I was in high school and we didn't have a deep variety, it's always the math. I'm shit at reading, so numbers are friendly to me. In college, it was thermodynamics.
Who is the most interesting person you met recently?
I have too many to list. I mean, I got a list. I got some cool friends. Like, God, I don't know.
Who, like, we were just at Wadapalooza. Did you meet anybody interesting there?
Yeah. I met a couple interesting people.
I don't think you're gonna offend anybody if you leave someone out, just one person.
I mean, like in Utah, I got to spend time with my friend Joel, who has to be one of the coolest people I know.
Yeah.
He builds monster trucks for a living. Like that's the coolest shit ever. And he just has all these crazy side ventures. Like my buddy Doc made that table. Like he's a fascinating person. How he got into making tables full time for a living. It started off a side project. But then my buddy Joel made the base of the table as well. It's like people like that just fascinate me. They started something as a side project and then they got to quit their full-time job and then now they get to do something they're passionate about and they're successful. So I mean, anything like that where somebody's following their passion, I find great envy in that.
What is your middle name?
Edward.
What is your biggest pet peeve? Just one, Matthew.
Sammy
just
snapping her
one.
gum.
When I blow bubbles with my gum, I have to spit it out. Out. It's just a habit. I don't mean to do it.
Yeah. I mean, there's too many pet peeves.
That one's my favorite. What is your favorite hobby?
Too many things. I love working. I genuinely, it's a terrible hobby to have. I love working. Like recently, one of my favorite things, my buddy and I bought a duplex together as like a long-term investment. And we got to work, probably a week or two together in this duplex, just refurbishing it, getting ready. And
nothing exciting, right? It's not the work itself is not glamorous.
No, it's absolute shit work.
Yeah.
But just sanding trim by hand. But it's I know like I'm bettering this for myself. I'm bettering this for my friend that I'm partners with.
Whoever gets to live in it.
Yeah,
like for them.
And then I love that. I love learning more about investing, stock market stuff. I love starting businesses. I love it.
Love it.
And then fun hobbies. I like ripping pit bikes.
Yeah. What is your guilty pleasure?
Oh, trashy like I get into some trashy TV. Like I have watched at least one episode of Lucifer every night for months now.
Can't say that I've even watched. I watched one episode with you,
Yeah.
actually. That's why.
What was the show we watched during quarantine at the lodge with Kit?
Oh,
Love is
Love
Blind.
is Blind or
Oh,
something like
the
that.
trashiest
That
TV.
was- yeah, but it was like we were with a group and
Exactly.
everybody got like into it.
Yeah,
and
we're
it
all
was
making fun of
fun.
how trashy
Yeah.
it is.
That was a thing.
What other guilty pleasures are there? Oh, stationery.
Yeah, you also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we were talking about this last night. Actually, weirdly enough.
counting change.
Counting change.
I have a change jar and like I thrive when this thing is full. Oh, when I sit down for an afternoon and just roll all the coins.
I mistakenly asked him, "What? Are you gonna bring those to the bank?"
Yeah.
Thinking like he was preparing the
No.
coins for something, and he was like, "No, I'm just rolling my coin."
Yeah.
I was just
But like
organizing my
stationery,
coins.
when I walk through like Walmart and I'll go down the stationery aisle just to look.
Yep. Good guilty pleasure. Do you have any hidden talents?
Man.
I think your talents are pretty
I mean,
widely known.
I mean, integrals or derivatives.
Right.
I'm your guy. Engineer. Yeah, like I did algebra in 6th grade. Like I love math. Sudokus, I can crush.
Mhm.
Expert level Sudokus, crush them. If you sit next to me on a flight, like the odds are you're gonna watch me do Sudokus for 6 hours.
What is the last album you bought or streamed? But
Album?
yeah,
Like music album?
Yeah, like a CD.
I've been big into what's his name recently?
Ryan Bingham.
Ryan Bingham.
Mhm.
Vibing on that stuff.
Mhm.
It is just fantastic.
He's a character in
Yellowstone. Yeah, he's like a ranch hand in Yellowstone, but
Really
he's
good
also
singer.
like a music. So in the show, he's always playing guitar and stuff, but
Mhm.
he's actually a musician as well, and absolutely phenomenal. I just love what he sings about, how he sings about it. Yeah, great stuff.
What is the last gift you gave?
I gave Sammy a gift certificate for some massages because we decided on.
Yeah, it wasn't for Christmas.
No, it wasn't Christmas.
wasn't
No,
a
it was a New
Christmas
Year's gift because
was a New Year's.
we agreed going into Christmas, like no gifts. We are not doing gifts for each other. We don't want to turn Christmas into like a material thing. But I thought for sure that she was going to get me a gift. And so I was like, I'm not going to be caught looking like a fool on Christmas where Sammy gives me a gift and I have nothing to return. So I went out, I got you a mani-pedi
Yeah, mani-pedi.
and a massage gift certificate. And then the Christmas came and went with no gifts. And I was like, oh my gosh, she actually stuck to the rule. Cool. But now I have this massage gift certificate and a mani-pedi gift certificate. I was like, what do I do with these?
Give this to her.
And so I gave it to her on New Year's. Like, hey, Happy New Year's. Here's a gift.
That's the new thing. Because we're not going to gift on Christmas, but I'm going to hold on to this until Flag Day. What cause is near and dear to your heart?
What cause?
Yeah.
Anything with kids. I want to, I always felt like a misfit as a kid. And so anything that gives a kid an outlet where they can feel unique or special or successful, I'm all about that. I'm all in.
What is your greatest achievement?
Landing her, like convince it.
Oh, that was sweet. I was not expecting that. That was a genuine reaction. Like, oh.
I mean, there's things in my life that I'm proud of. Like what I accomplished in CrossFit is obviously like I think the most like publicly known. But even that, like those things are internal to me. Like the gold medals don't mean much. Like early on in my career, I think my parents got my first medal framed for me.
Mhm.
And then I continued it for a little while. So I have 4 of them framed, 2 silvers and 2 golds. But then the next 3 gold medals, they're in a grocery bag somewhere.
I think they're in the safe, but
No, they're not in the safe.
they're in the closet.
Yeah, they're in the closet in a bag somewhere. I don't even know where the framed
We
ones
should
are.
frame them. They're downstairs.
But like it's not that those things aren't important to me, but I don't need the outward display of it. Like I accomplished it, I accomplished my goal. So that's for me, graduating college, you know, double major, double minor. I was on the dean's list. I worked very hard for it. And I found my 2 degrees in storage, and I was like, oh, I should hang these up. And so they're hanging up in my office. But like in the grand scheme of things, like those things don't matter. Like the more and more time you spend in this world, the more you accomplish, the more stuff you have, you realize that none of it matters. It's about who you're with. Driving in a fast car is zero fun unless you have someone to share it with. Traveling the world is no fun unless you have someone to share it with. And so that's where I was lucky that early on in my career, and once these opportunities started rolling in, I had someone to share them with. And like I've traveled to corners of the world that were phenomenal, but I was there by myself. So, you know, you see it, you do it, and you're like, all right, I know I'm told this is supposed to be a big moment in my life, but I really could take it or leave it. And growing up and having all those stories from my dad of where he toured the world with his friends, with his future wife, I always wanted to replicate that. I wanted to have those stories of my own. And so I was so lucky to find Sammy early on and in that. So we did everything together. We traveled everywhere. We went through the highs, we went through the lows, we came out of it all. And so, you know, it's those things, like you can buy the mansion, but if you're in it by yourself, it's pretty lonely. So I would take anything with Sammy versus everything without her.
And we settled for the garage instead of the mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was sweet. Well, we are 3 minutes over.
That's it.
I think I hope that's okay with all of the people that are joining us. Thank you so much. This was a blast for me.
Absolutely.
I hope you had a good time and we got these books signed. Thank you everybody for joining, and
thank you guys for joining. Thank you for getting your copy. I can't wait for you guys to get your hands on it, read through it. I can't wait to hear the feedback from it. So thank you.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, this is John Acuff, New York Times best-selling author of 7 books and someone who's done a live signing. If you like the one you just watched, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. It's full of amazing authors having great conversations and signing books for viewers just like you. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching today.